even if the odds are stacked against me. Just like Blow, I am heading toward a disaster of my own making. Fort Kusarayan battle the key points. Welcome back to White Explains It All. The Colonel and Deadbeat are attacking a fort surrounded by nothing. What? There's gotta be something.
A blade is like a tea leaf. Only those who sample it many times can appreciate it. True quote. お前それかっそれへっにゃっへっじゃじゃーんファイヤーま、岩天素なんだけどね堂々不意打ちよいしょわーおラッキー
外勤はまた別。急ごう。よっ。はっ。
広めだ。
天理チョーク、剣女盤石、
桜吹雪、踊りなさい。本日は運がいいようです。 準備万端、出発しましょう。
泳ぐ魚でさえ進む先を決められるように、生きとし生ける者の意志は全て尊重されるべきです。転ばぬ先の杖というように、事前に準備しておけば混乱を招くことはありません。ご安心を。そら、開幕だ。ソーランド行こう。
花と酒を手に景色を堪能しようとしたが、あの頃とはもう違う。悠々とまた いざ。
ご助力を。
難攻不落。 岩山八九。へっ。天道万象。
踊りなさい。
剣女盤石。
失礼。やっはっえそれはっ雪を前へそれ神里流消滅。
偶然の出会いには趣がある。
ご助力を。
天道ここにある。難攻不落。
失礼。宝探し、これもまたいい。お披露目だ。はっはあ。
ご安心を。
探し、これもまた一興です。これが旅人さんの普段の暮らしですか。またあなたに少し近づけた気がします。踊りなさい。
ご安心を。
君に捧げよう。
食料はきちんと用意。はっ、風よ散れ。はっ、風よ。風よ散れ。はっ、風よ散れ。はっ、風よ散れ。
剣よ盤石。
風よ散れ。千人のご高来だ。失礼。
天道万象。新天道地。
八方の風羽ばたかん。散れ風よ。はっ。桜吹雪。雪を前。
カジャーン。世界を熱狂の渦に。
難攻不落。
はっ、散れ。失礼。踊りなさい。
天理チョーク。岩山八九。
遠くをたたえよ。
千人のご高来だ。風よ散れ。はっ。やっ。はっ。やっ。すっ。それ。立った。雪を前へ。それ。
難攻不落。
踊りなさい。失礼。
安心を。
面白いものは多ければ多いほどいい。
天道ここにあり。
ご安心を。
それ
力を。ご安心を。どう使うかきちんと計画してくださいね。
Ha! The abyss shall never again be allowed to even gaze upon this realm. But all the lives are not mine. They will die by Howit's botchless hand, or they can forsake their bodies and become true phlogiston-based life forms. So like reverse continuum. There shall be neither ley lines, no substantive bodies. We shall own everything, yet never again own anything. We shall be beholden to neither birth nor death. Perhaps even life's meaning shall become more like void to us. At that time, those dragons who have discarded their bodies and become phlogiston life forms shall become the rulers of the new world. That's terrifying. So I thought too, when this plan was first revealed to me. At that time, I believed that should this come to pass, all life would simply become flickering, illusory shadows cast by the Titanic. Having lost our bodies, we would be bereft of any possibility to continue again. But no dragonborn who served Shipotero could refuse his order. So I set another path. Perhaps I should don another guise for this. Or not? Well, what do you think? Quite possible, right? Things such as these are easily possible through proper phlogiston manipulation via iridescent and the one to What an interesting response. Now let's head to Tonashu to search for that now non-existent shade of the fairy shop. Now that is a fine moon before the fall sky enveloped the world. The city that lay beneath it could have rivaled Tolan itself. In those days, while in search of light in the pitch-dark outer realm, we set up a stairway? No. It might be correct to call it a cable to reach beyond our skies. And before Ochkan spun in the ground, we had been preparing to leave it beyond our orbit and use it to tighten the sky cable and anchor the latter's trajectory. Later, it was modified to become Tonashu. It was originally intended to have hung higher in the sky. And then my beloved son, Ochkan, hid a golden treaty there. Wait, aren't those like 3 moons? Gosh. I once thought that through him, I could discover how the one seated upon heaven's throne converted the ley lines into a girdle that defends the planet. I believe that once I understood the secret of this operation, then I could use this head to merge the human and dragon races, allowing dragon-carnate priests use subtler means to resist every force the abyss. And perhaps even the dragonborn shall rise to once more bring spirit beyond the stars. but he failed. Indeed, compared to the dragons, whose souls are more powerful and more uniform, the individual variation among human soul is far too deep, and most of them are too fragile. Otran, his spirit was like broken glass. He blew all creatures to the sun that he could become one with it, and closely got in, only to lose his shape as sunset. He was so alike to my own self, and just as disappointed. Just like humanity itself, perhaps I came into contact with them because I, too, once shared their frailties and harbored fantasies of overcoming the strong, even in my weakness. And such fantasy came true once when Shyamalan ascends upon Chronicler's weakness and sweetness. A weakness, you say? Shukotal was the master of the first plane, wielder of all light, heat, and wisdom. He controlled the primal plane, and could even plunge his entire body into it. By all rights at the time, there was no way he could have been harmed. If he had not modified one of his pupils to serve as the control hub for the Huitzilopochtli, that is. Because he had to monitor the anchor reality using this eye, it became his sole weakness. That is how Shyamalan was able to take him down alongside himself. Wait, they died together? Yes, Shyamalan was undoubtedly slain at that time, but was reborn then, and thus became the so-called God of Fire, the Pyger Archon. Perhaps he paid the price for his death delay, or perhaps this was part of the deal he had made with a certain entity all along. Whatever the case, he knew that Huitzilopochtli was, and naturally, my alliance with me through Otran was meant to defend its activity. Enter then the golden intrigue. The control hub that could be used to reactivate this place is split in two between four safety. Sorry, that is not me. That's definitely me. This is the tower that allows Huitzilopochtli to cover all Natlan and anchor its areas of coverage. Most of them were destroyed at Ochkan's order, but their fragments serve the same purpose anyway. They never imagined that the carrier mission was something far smaller and more delicate, to the point that even a single stone could contain a iridescent inscription. Had they found out, my plans would my plans now would have been rendered impossible. Otonashi, a place where I stored the golden entreaty alongside this place. I once believed that humanity could create a civilization still more glorious after Xabalanque's apotheosis. I even thought that they might avoid the dead end and we walked into. So I decided to give them more time. But too many years have gone by. None among the tribe have even dared, not since Extra, to establish a united empire. Until today, they lean on the authority of this so-called archive like a crutch. They were unable to forge weapons for themselves to wield, such that their world might be defended from all corrupting powers. Their way of fighting against the great shadow still lies in this little story of heroic valor, passed from generation to generation. Certain things are being with the past that they will not dissolve. Each time our foe strikes from the shadows, the slowly accumulated fruits of civilization will destroy, all in an instant. And afterward there is only the eternal cycle, or worse, an inexorable devolution. The time I granted as grace has lost all meaning as a result. Perhaps if I gave them a few thousand years more, perhaps several tens of thousands, they will create that glorious, shining empire. But my faith has run out. And waiting has become a luxury. Whether it be for me or this once sacred city. Come, this story is almost at its end. Let me witness your choice. Mine? Yes, chosen of dragons. I would hear your answers. Dragon will narrate the brain after. Behold, that reaches the botch and its activation array. Bring to life. This way, our shadowy enemy may never again gain a foothold upon this world. And afterwards, via the gradual expansion of the primal flame's power, just like when a complete bubble is blown within the leaking heart of an old man. Perhaps the entire world shall become free from abysmal power. But the authority over time will not lie fully phlogistonized. The very concept of life will be rewritten. That authority will then return not. only draconic phlogiston life forms who will disappoint. As such, you can become the shaper of this new world. You can also become the Pyro Dragon Summoner. No, that the Emperor's rulership would be something entirely surpassing our traditional concept. Then you shall reclaim all life, all heat, all wisdom, bringing all order and great glory back to this world, even to this world. Even if doing so means the end of evolution? Who knows? Perhaps it will instead prove the beginning of a new evolutionary cycle. Stopping on the path leading onward can be another form of bravery, especially when the alternative is infinite regression. Now then, choose. Activate Huitsu Opochlu. Down here. And then view. Now then, choose. Activate Huitsu Opochlu. No, wait! Traveler! Oh my. And here I thought you wouldn't be able to remember them. Never mind how your mind now has at least 1,000 years worth of memories within it. I also intend for you to make your decision while having it. Traveler was never meant to have existed here. Though of course, it was precisely due to her age that you were able to reach this place. She is, however, what is special. It may be that the phlogiston usually choose that one will not affect her. No one knows what will happen once it is activated. Perhaps there shall then be no difference between you and me. Perhaps we shall both see. Perhaps she and that little emission by her side will win. Perhaps they will not. Ha! Enough of that. Time is short. We do not have much excess energy left to also maintain those of our kind who have already become phlogiston's life forms. If we do not obtain the authority over the primal plane in time, all shall soon perish, and once that moment comes, choice itself will be the loss to us. Quick, choose the chosen category. This is an omen of new life, and also the final end. Entering triggering sequence. 3 rounds of confirmation will be required to either activate or deactivate the sleeping skyfire. Sign quickly. First confirmation. Are you certain that you wish to activate or reach the punch line? Yo! Let me go ahead and check some Wikipedia first. After 2 weeks, what happened? So what's the best outcome here? For those who are seeing, he should not activate progress the quest further. After all the dialogues and passing, after I see will be given a choice to activate or not. Progress the quest coordination, you should not activate Huitsu Watch. If you do choose to activate it, you will be stuck in a loop with the same quest objectives over and over. Wait, what? Huh? What do you mean? So like, Question. After going through the long sequence of action, you'll be back to the platform under the canyon, eventually leading into the second and last part. Wait, what? So if I choose to activate this, activate it. Just go ahead and let's see. What? Hold on. 5-star rail where you can insist to stay at the Herta space station rather than going with the what do you call this? The trailblazer, the train. So if you chose not to come with Unico's and the other, you will get like a separate ending. So yeah, that's something. Shooting sci-fi generator is on approach. Flying edge. Calibration initiated. Second confirmation, I will verify the series to activate when successful. Shooting sci-fi generator is the moment of rebirth. Before you stretch a word of pure white, none can know what light means in this world, for it permeates every corner, nor does time retain any meaning. 10 million years pass is what seems but a moment. It, or something that once it, is the sole remaining consciousness. This is a world the shadow can never again threaten. But is it a world with any meaning? Or is it a world without any meaning? It knows that the primal flame is not exhaustible, though it shall burn for billions of years in this dark cosmic sea. Sometimes it recalls, as if in a dream, travels it once embarked on alongside two companions when the land was still tangible. Holding on to these memories, it thinks it might yet endure the torment until death comes upon eternity's far shore. Still, it recalls time and time again. But still, for reasons none can know, only it remains. If it could return to that moment, was there another choice? Libre, I'll be waiting till we meet. I think it will fit perfectly. That's like it is like the alternative ending of Chronicler.
celebrate. I'll be waiting till we make it the day to celebrate. I'll be waiting till we make it. Oh. Take the journey, we will see. Come with me, take the journey.
Activate or deactivate the sleeping smartphone. First confirmation. Are you certain that you wish to activate Holy Watchman? Confirm activation. Sleeping smartphone generator is on approach. Supplying energy. Calibration initiated. Second confirmation. Are you certain that you wish to activate Holy Watchman? Result confirmed. Sleeping Skyfire activation sequence has been cancelled. Ritsu Post State has ceased operation. So this is your position, I presume. Why did you do it? I still believe in humanity, and I will not put you and Paimon at risk. And yet, you may not hold the same pride of place in their hearts. They dare not adventurers who roam the world. Perhaps it was only out of charity, or the desire to gain treasure, or some other reward that they brought with you. Perhaps in their hearts, they even harbor a grievance against the nuances you make of yourself. Rather, this name is their endless activity. But they think of you matters little. They, however, are important to you. That's what really counts. You have no idea what father you have chosen, and what shall now lose. There is still time, Lina. I will not activate it. Even though the wisdom and power you enjoy now will fade without the primal flames in. Because the fire I allotted you that granted you that intellect, yet the tribe of our primal souls, we shall merely share the feeblest of flames between two meager matches. Soon, everything here shall cease to exist, and you will lose both your strength and powers of speech. How will you tell you and Paimon of this world that you almost gained, yet in the end lost? They don't have to know about something as serious as this. Fool. You do not even know where they are. Nor is there a way back from this place. If there isn't a way back to them, then I'll make one. Come back. You know not what you hold. Traitor me. You burn through the power back in your heart. Come back. You know not what you did. Bitterness. Your body is beyond belief. Your body is but you are not as important to them as you think. They could not care less about you. I like that. Like living a message after talking. You are not as if Grandpa? We're about to be trapped. Look, nothing happened. Wait, no. Did you save us? What? If you found this big, does that mean that Victor's better? Could it be that... Oh, no.
you say? TSK, TSK, TSK. The fact that there's nothing is what's so special about it. A flat field with no special features means that it's easy for troops to march through here. Any spot easy for a big army to punch through is an important one. For the human side, it's a place where they have to hold the line no matter what. Otherwise, a whole army could waltz right on in. They've got to defend this place to the death, whatever happens to the other forts. That's Fort Kusurian in a nutshell. Which is why we sent 2 whole armies to conquer this very important fort. Same goes for the other side. It looks like the humans committed way more people to protecting this one. On top of that, they've got their strongest fighting force of all at this fort, the hero. So in one corner we've got the colonel, who's the strongest of all the regular demons, and in the other is the hero, the symbol of hope for humanity. Talk about a big showdown. You could even say that this battle will decide the outcome of the war. Even I'm on the edge of my seat over here. Man, this fort's got a pretty stupid sounding name, though, huh? Chapter Genshin. I became an adventurer solely by chance. Call it a coincidence if you like. It just so happened that the fastest way for a no-name brat to earn money was working as an adventurer. That's the only reason. I was born in the middle of nowhere. You couldn't even call it a village, it was just a couple of run-down shacks bunched up in the same shabby place. There were no walls to keep out monsters, just an almost useless fence made of some skinny twigs. If the place was ever attacked by monsters or bandits, we'd all die. But for some reason, no one ever tried to leave. Everyone assumed it'd somehow be fine, simply because it always had been. As if that could possibly be true. Since I seemed to be the only one who realized that, I left home at a young age and became an adventurer. Sure, it was tough getting by at first. I mean, I was just a kid. An adventurer's main job is culling monsters, but kids can't manage that kind of thing. When a monster kills humans, its level goes way up, and sometimes it'll even evolve. That's why there are rules in place to keep adventurers from dying. The role of the Adventurers Guild is to distribute appropriate jobs so that kids and newbies don't take on anything they can't handle, meaning while anyone can be an adventurer, not just anyone can earn money doing it. The highest paying jobs are monster hunts, but kids obviously aren't allowed to do those, so I only got odd jobs and errands at first. I ran around all day long, barely earning enough money to pay for food and lodging for the night. And so it went for some time. It's not unusual for street urchins to become adventurers like I did. In most cases, those kids can't keep up that lifestyle for long and eventually resort to petty crimes like pickpocketing instead. Sounds a bit stupid, but with one good pull, a skilled pickpocket could get the same amount of money it'd take a whole day's worth of honest work to earn. It's no wonder so many kids end up choosing that path when they see how much less grueling it is. Even if not all of them might make it to the next year. Sure, pickpocketing might be an easy way to make money, but it's at the cost of ruining the rest of your life. Those kids made fun of me for sticking to honest hard work, but to me they were the stupid ones. It's not like I avoided pickpocketing because it's bad, really. It just wasn't worth it. You might get money in the short term, but odds are you'd end up in prison in the long run. Lots of them kept doing it anyway, with the groundless confidence that they'd never be caught, but that obviously wasn't true. Just like the folks in my hometown, they assumed they were special, and I have no idea why. In the end, my hometown got destroyed by bandits, and every last one of the kids who were pickpockets got caught. I never thought of myself as special. I just made a point of avoiding danger. That's the only difference between them and me. Who'd have thought I would go on to be successful as an adventurer and end up in the hero's party? If you told me that when I was a kid, I never would have believed it. Even now, no one's as surprised as I am. I became an adventurer by chance, but as it turns out, I guess I had a knack for it. People call me an expert who can use all kinds of weapons, but when I think about how that happened, I can't help laughing. The only reason I'm good with a bunch of different weapons is because I didn't have any of my own. How would having no weapons lead to knowing how to use so many of them? That's what most people ask when I tell them that. All it really means is that I used whatever I could get, hand-me-down weapons from older adventurers, broken ones that belonged in the scrap heap, stuff like that. I didn't have any money, after all. Beggars can't be choosers, so I just used anything and everything in reach. Since they weren't bought in a store or anything, nothing I laid my hands on lasted long, either, so I used whatever I could find for all it was worth. Eventually, my earnings started to stabilize, and by the time I could afford to buy real weapons, I was experienced with all kinds of them. If the young adventurers who look up to me ever found out the boring truth, they'd probably be heartbroken. I've heard there's a fad among the rookies to imitate me by using multiple weapons. I dunno if that's a good thing or a bad thing, though. The advantages and disadvantages of using multiple weapons are obvious. On the one hand, you can react to more situations. Different kinds of attacks work on different monsters. Cutting, impact, piercing, shock, each one is more effective against certain foes and less effective against others. If you can keep track of that and use the weapon best suited for your target, battles get a whole lot easier. So what's the downside? Your skills grow more slowly, you have to lug around a whole slew of bulky weapons, and it's a pain keeping them all in good shape. Obviously, the most effective way to raise a skill level is to pick a single kind of weapon and keep using it. If you use a bunch of different kinds, that just means more skills you have to level up, and you'll be dividing your experience among them all. If I had to have a sword fight with an adventurer who only uses swords, I'd probably be the one to lose. Then there's the bulkiness. If you want to switch weapons depending on the situation, that means you've got no choice but to carry a ton of them around at any given time. That's fine if you got a bag with space storage on it or something, but space magic items are really expensive. There's not much supply and a ton of demand, so they sell as soon as they hit the market, even when they're priced super high. Then the prices get even higher, so it's a vicious cycle. But I happen to have one that Hawken got for a steal, so I can hit the battlefield without worrying about lugging around a ton of clunky weapons. Until then, I put all that heavy stuff on my back. I really owe Hawken for that. But even with that problem solved, I still have to maintain all these weapons constantly, and that isn't cheap. Weapons are tools that protect your life. If you neglect them and they break in battle, you could be in serious danger, so it's important to keep them in tip-top shape at all times. I had to use tons of broken second-hand weapons when I was starting out, so I know exactly how dangerous it can be, let me tell you. Those experiences made me who I am now, but you're better off using a proper weapon in the first place. Wielding several proper weapons costs serious cash. Buying them and maintaining them, too. A weapon's price is relative to its effectiveness. When you're an adventurer at my level, you gotta use some decent quality stuff. If I use a weapon that can't hold up to my stats, I'll have to replace it after every swing. Stronger adventurers reap higher profits, but they have to spend more on equipment, too. And on top of that, I gotta buy several different kinds of those pricey weapons. It can't just be expensive for no reason, either. I need an artisan I trust to craft them and make sure that's the person who does maintenance on them, too. Usually Hawken takes care of that kind of thing. When I was investigating a human trafficking organization on a certain country's request, I just happened to spot Hawken for sale and bought him, but that's frankly gotta be the best decision I ever made in my life. Without Hawken, I'd be bankrupt by now. The reason I joined the Heroes Party is because I sensed that I was starting to reach the limits of my solo career. That's the truth. But to the rest of the world, it seems like I reached the limits of my ability to fight solo and finally went looking for a group who could keep up with me. There are a handful of adventurers who work solo, but most of them don't get far. Since this occupation means constantly dancing with death, it's simply too risky to strike out on your own. Unlike a party, where the other members can help out if one of them makes a mistake, The smallest misstep can mean death for a solo adventurer, and a foe that would be easy to defeat with teamwork is far more difficult to challenge alone. All good reasons why most people team up with other adventurers of similar strength to form parties. But I've always worked solo. It's not that I was particularly set on working alone or anything. It's just, when I started out, no one wanted to team up with a broke little kid, so I kept working solo, and next thing I knew, I had reached A rank, and there were no other strong adventurers around me. Just like the reason I became an adventurer, I stayed solo because of chance and nothing more. But that was for the best. With my strength, I can tackle most monsters alone. I just have to avoid fighting any monsters I can't handle. The true limit of what I could accomplish in my solo career wasn't decided by any lack of strength. If anything, it's because of a lack of money. Adventurers earn money by defeating monsters, with the amount depending on the monster's strength. But powerful monsters worth a lot of money don't appear all that often. If you go to dangerous areas where ordinary people never set foot, you can find dangerous monsters of A rank and above, but few adventurers ever return from those places. If a solo adventurer like me went somewhere like that, you can bet I wouldn't come back in one piece. Sure, I could maybe survive if I avoided being spotted by any monsters, but then I wouldn't earn any money. But it's not good to overhunt the weaker monsters, either. It's important to keep their numbers low, but if you hunt them too much, you can wreck the fragile balance of the ecosystem and cause unintended consequences. Best to keep the culling to a reasonable level. With my strength, I don't have to worry about not having enough to eat, but that strength also requires high-quality weapons that can hold up to heavy use. Multiple weapons, no less. I might not be in danger of starving, but it costs a lot of money to maintain a proper stock of weapons. It's not easy to find requests that keep enough money rolling in. The highest paying requests involve defeating powerful monsters or working for a government. A rank or not, as a solo adventurer, I wasn't rolling in either kind of request. Since there weren't enough requests appropriate for my strength, I started falling into the red, which was why I felt I'd reached the limit of my solo career. A pretty embarrassing limit, I gotta say. Again, sorry for ruining the dreams of you young adventurers who looked up to me. In any case, investigating that human trafficking organization at the behest of some government or other and joining the anti-human trafficking force was exactly what I needed. Governmental requests pay accordingly well, and the force was funded by many nations. On top of that, the force consisted of elites from all over the world. If everything went well, I might get invited to work for one of those countries. With that in mind, I joined the force with Hawken in tow. Hawken was purely worried about the young hero, but my reasons were much more pragmatic. And when the force was disbanded, I ended up joining the hero's party. That was a surprise to me, too. I only spoke to Julius at the wrap-up banquet on a whim, a casual urge to give some life advice to the young boy who already carried so much responsibility. Through our activities on the force, I got a good idea of young Julius's nature. To be honest, he seemed naive to me. I've experienced a lot as an adventurer, both good and bad, so it was almost embarrassing to watch someone so earnest and simple, and concerning, too. It's not a bad thing to be honest. We need people with a strong sense of justice. But the truth is that the world's problems can't be fixed with sentiments alone. Real adults have to be able to take the bad with the good in equal measure. Those who are overly focused on chasing the good in this world can get crushed when they're confronted with the dark and dirty. It's one thing if they can manage to pretend they didn't see anything, but someone whose sense of justice is too strong might get heartbroken right then and there. I suspect part of the reason Julius was in the anti-human trafficking organization force was for him to get exposed to the darkness early on, so that wouldn't happen. That night, I figured I'd give him a little advice while also feeling out whether he really understood that. And what do you think he said? I learned in my time with the force how easily people can turn to the path of evil, too. But that's exactly what my power is for. I am the hero, a symbol of hope for the people. An emblem of justice. and the enemy of evil. I'll become the hope of humanity and show them that I'll never let evil win. I am here. I am the hero. That's what I want to let everyone know. As long as I do that, I'm sure the future will be full of hope. He clearly understood the dark and the light, but instead of turning a blind eye or being heartbroken, he declared that he would change the very darkness into light. So this is what a hero's supposed to be, I thought. I understood then why he was the only person fit to be called the hero, even if he was just a kid. And next thing I knew, I was offering my services to him. Even now, I have no idea why I did that. Or why Julius accepted without hesitation. One way or another, that's how I ended up as a member of the Heroes Party. You never know where life's gonna take you. But I don't regret it for a second. For one thing, a member of the Heroes Party doesn't have to worry about money. I've been able to fight to my best ability without fear of going broke, although it's mostly because Hawkin runs around taking care of everything. And being in the Heroes Party means a lot of fame, too. What more could a guy want? For a kid who started out practically as an orphan, I think I've gone further as an adventurer than I ever could have imagined. I'm perfectly content. Seems like I don't have a whole lot of ambition, I guess. I didn't even become an A-rank adventurer because I wanted to get stronger or anything. I was just trying to make my life a little better, struggling to get out of poverty, and next thing you know, that's where I ended up. As a member of the Heroes Party, I've got more wealth and fame than I ever needed, so I'm not looking to get anything more than that. People say I'm not greedy, but I don't think that's true. I've got desires just like anyone else. I wanna eat good food to my heart's content and spend my nights with a good woman. Having money makes me happy, and it feels good to have people fawn over me because of my fame. But if you get too greedy or ambitious, that can lead to your own doom, so I don't want anything more than what I've got. Julius's hyper-noble dedication to justice seems a little heavy to me, but I do think you have to live your life by a code. Rules are made for a reason, and breaking them usually isn't worth it. I'm not noble and pure of heart, I just never break rules if it's not worth the risk. In that sense, I'm probably the only member of the Heroes Party who isn't a good and virtuous person. Actually, no, I guess there's Herince, too. But I guess Julius probably needs someone who sees things from a different point of view. Maybe he even keeps Herince close at hand because he realizes that, since I'm the oldest and all, I sometimes end up being like the teacher who guides the other members of the Heroes Party. At first, I didn't think that suited me, but I've gotten used to it over the years. So now I sorta feel like their guardian. But that's not a bad feeling. Maybe I'm getting soft as I grow older. Back in the day, I probably would have died rather than watch over a bunch of brats. The main reason I always worked solo is because there wasn't anyone else around who was about the same level or strength as me, but it's also because dealing with other people is a pain. Where I come from, gossip and envy were all fairly common. People sometimes suspected me of picking pockets, although it was always a false charge. With that unpleasant history, I decided not to team up with anyone unless I knew I could really trust them. And when it comes to Julius and the rest of the Heroes Party, they're so damn nice that there was never any doubt. It's like these guys have never even heard of jealousy or envy. In that sense, I had nothing to worry about, but I wasn't used to being in the position of relying on others or even guiding them. But now I've gone so soft that I've even considering teaching young adventurers once I retire. I'm getting old, all right. Technically I'm still on the younger side, but as adventurers go, I'm undoubtedly a veteran by now. It's the nature of the job that you can't do it for all that long. The gradual weakening and slowing down that comes with age can make the difference between life and death in battle. And it gets harder to balance your strength and earnings, just like what happened in my case. If you get married and have kids, you obviously have to take care of them, too. Once an adventurer reaches a certain age or level of strength, they usually start to look for a more stable line of work. Many people even wash their hands of this dangerous job long before they reach that point. The time has come for me to start thinking about what I'm gonna do when I quit being an adventurer, too. Julius and the others are grown adults by now. They're strong enough that they'll do just fine without me. Once this all-important battle with the demons is over, I'll begin looking for a successor and figure out what I'm gonna do with myself from now on. I haven't had much of a chance to form a deep connection with anyone over the years, so maybe I should look for a good woman, too. But I guess I can take time to think about all that after I survive this fight. We've been deployed to Fort Kusarayan. It's the most important of all the major forts, making it a fitting place to be personally defended by Julius the hero, humanity's trump card. The enemy knows this, too, which is why they're attacking so aggressively. Our commanding officer shouts orders, and the soldiers hurry into action. But even their resolute attempts at defense are being pushed back in the face of the demon's almost self-destructive recklessness. Down you go. I kick a ladder that's been propped against the wall of the fort. The demon that was climbing it takes a tumble, too, but another ladder almost instantly appears just a few paces over. By the time I knock that one over as well, the first one is already propped back up again. There's no end to it. Nearby, another soldier deals with a similar situation, but the enemy proves too strong for him to push the ladder down. A fight breaks out as the first demon climbs onto the wall. Hiya! Julius cuts down the demon with one strike. Healing, now. Little Miss Yana uses healing magic to help the wounded recover. Get back. Harince raises his shield at the outer edge of the wall to repel an enemy spell that comes flying toward us from the distance. Here's a little something. Behind Harince's shield, Hawkin tosses something down at the soldiers below the wall. Judging by the resulting screams, it must have been some wildly dangerous item. We're holding down our section of the wall well enough, but there are just too many enemies. Fort Kusarayan is huge. With attacks coming from all sides, there's no way we can cover everywhere at once on our own. Eek! Careful! The wall trembles, and Miss Yana stumbles a little. Julius quickly catches her and finds himself propping her up for a moment. At a glance, it looks like they're embracing, and they both certainly seem flustered. But this is the hero's party. They're not stupid enough to do something like that in the middle of a battle. The two of them quickly separate and scan for the source of the tremor. That's not good, Julius murmurs gravely. Immediately, there's another tremor at our feet. It's coming from a siege engine shaped like a massive pillar being smashed into the main gate. Damn it! What are the guards down there doing? Harince curses, but I'm sure the soldiers aren't slacking off, either. They're doing their best to stop the enemy from ramming the gate, but the siege engine has too much momentum to be stopped completely. The demons draw back to drive the siege engine home again. Defenders shoot magic at them to try to stop it, but even a direct hit doesn't slow them down. Even as they're scorched by flames, electrocuted by lightning, and lose limbs to earth magic, the demons crash into the door once more. They broke through. I barely even notice that the words are coming out of my mouth. The demons flood in through the shattered gate. Of course, Fort Kusarayan won't fall just because a single door was broken down. There are more layers of defense inside, and the attackers might even expose themselves to a pincer attack if they aren't careful. So there's no need to panic just yet, but the fact that the famously impregnable Fort Kusarayan has been breached at all is a considerable shock to our allies, which isn't good when they were already intimidated by the demons' viciously aggressive attacks. At this rate, our side's morale could take a serious blow. Julius, what's our move? Let's go. Julius hesitates for a moment, then starts running toward the front gate. We're going to take care of things down there. Don't worry. Just hold steady up here for now. With a brief call of encouragement to the soldiers, I follow on Julius's heels. If the soldiers up here started flagging because we left and that gave the enemy another opportunity to break through, our efforts would be completely wasted. We need them to keep digging in their heels even after we leave. The hero's party rushes toward the gate, Julius leading the way. When we reach the wall closest to it, Julius takes a running jump right into the fray. Ha! With momentum and gravity on his side, he brings his sword down on a group of enemies who are clumped up. A boom echoes off the walls as Julius lands on the remains of an enemy soldier. He's annihilated the whole swathe of demons in a single attack. Just like that, the enemies who made it inside the gate have all been wiped out. Julius isn't satisfied with that, though, and runs out through the broken gate. "We're going, too. Hang on." Herinth scoops up Miss Yana and jumps down after Julius. I pick up Hawkin and follow in the same way. Of course, it did occur to me to just leave Hawkin there. But after he showed me last night how determined he was, I couldn't betray his trust. I use dimensional maneuvering as I land to make sure it isn't too rough on Hawkin. Julius is already locked in battle with the enemy's frontline troops, or rather, he's already cutting right through them. With every swing of Julius's sword, another demon goes down. Their stats are higher than ordinary humans, but as the hero, Julius is even stronger. I'm sure only a handful of the strongest demons could even hold their own in a fight against Julius. But I guess now isn't the time to stand around being impressed. Don't run off on your own. Herinth catches up to Julius and raises his shield. I come over to stand at Julius's other side. Let's push them back right here and now. Charging into battle like this, both armies are bound to notice. Our allies' morale will improve when they see how dependable the hero is, while the enemy will falter in the face of the hero's fearsome strength. It's better to set Julius loose on solid ground where he can fight to the fullest than have him defend a tiny section of the wall. Julius seems to be in agreement with my plan, as he keeps pressing onward. He slashes his way forward through the enemy as easily as if he's cutting through an empty field. I finish off any enemies Julius missed, while